to be in the room with all us Democrats, and we can't buy into this spin that they're putting out there that the Democrats are in trouble. We look around and we are going to prevail in November. It is my distinct honor to be asked to introduce one of my most respected peers on the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. He's been a role model for me. He exemplifies what leadership really is. He understands what he has to do in Lansing. He understands how you have to engage both sides of the aisle. It's my honor to introduce to you your next Senator, Dave Coulter.
Well, that was a surprise. Marcia, dear Marcia, thank you very much. And thank you all for coming. I know the hour is drawing late. I will be relatively brief. But welcome to the house where I work and where Marcia works, and a couple of my other colleagues are here as well. Steve Schwartz from Farmington Hills, Gary McGilvery from Madison Heights, County Commissioners all. You see our names up there. As somebody mentioned, we're at 13 to 12, and we will be in the majority in 2010, and I may not be there with them, but I'm confident that the Democrats will be in the majority. As your county commissioner and as the Democratic leader of the board, I have stood at this podium many times over the last 8 years, telling you the things that Democrats were fighting for in Oakland County, explaining to you the progressive Democratic agenda that we were bringing to a very Republican county. I'm very proud to have stood here before and tell you about our fight to bring greater transparency to Oakland County government. We've been fighting for night meetings for 7 years. I'm proud to say half of the meetings are now finally at night. We're going to get televised as well. We are not going to give up that fight. We have fought for mass transit in Oakland County, not only because it's great transportation for people who need it, but because of the economic development and the jobs that it'll create everywhere that it's been done, and we've been fighting for that for the last 7 years. We've been fighting for jobs here in Oakland County, especially among our small businesses. We understand as Democrats that the majority of people are still hired by small businesses, and we've had plans that unfortunately have been blocked by the Republicans to offer health care to small businesses so that they can attract and retain jobs in Oakland County, and we'll continue to push for that. And health care, an issue that's been near and dear to my heart. Oakland County Democrats have been singularly responsible for passing a prescription drug discount program, a dental discount program for our residents in Oakland County, an Oakland County health plan that we introduced and passed 2 years ago that currently offers a managed health plan for 5,000 of our lowest income residents in Oakland County. And some of you may have read, that's right, 5,000 people. We're not Democrats in Oakland County are not waiting for Washington to solve health care. We've been working on it, and I personally introduced a resolution that I think will pass any time now that will expand that program using federal dollars, not local dollars, to increase it to another 2,000 people being covered in that program, and I hope to be able to unveil that in the next month. So I stood here before and told you about a lot of things that we're fighting for, but as Marcia indicated, I'm not here today as a county commissioner. For the first time, I'm here as a candidate for the state senate to replace our friend Gilda Jacobs, who is term limited, unfortunately, one of the travesties of that law. And I have to tell you, if you know me, it was a very difficult decision because I love serving on the Board of Commissioners, and I love being the Democratic leader and working with the great people that I get to lead. However, I made the difficult decision to run for one very simple reason, and you'll see it in this brochure that was passed out. I just happen to believe, very heartfelt, that Lansing is broken. That at a time in our history, the worst economic conditions that we have seen in our lifetime, Lansing has failed us. When we needed them to help us create jobs, to help expand health care, to help fix our roads, to help fund our schools, they have fundamentally failed us. And as a local elected official, I see the ramifications of that every day. Because in Oakland County government, just like local government, we're spending state money on programs that we implement to help at the grassroots level. And when we don't know what's going on in Lansing, when they're playing around with a budget that, by the way, they couldn't pass on time 2 out of the last 3 years, their most fundamental responsibility, they failed at that twice in the last 3 years, something is wrong in Lansing. But I'm also an optimist, and I believe that it doesn't have to be that way. As I mentioned, it's 13 to 12 here, and it could be as partisan here in Oakland County as it is in Lansing, but it's not. Yes, we have our fights all the time, as my colleagues will attest to, but at the end of the day, we put partisan bickering aside and we work together on the issues that are important. And I'm proud to say that unlike the state budget mess that you see in Lansing, despite our partisan divisions here, every year for the past 7 years that I've been here, we have passed a budget on time that's balanced, without raising taxes, without cutting services to residents, and unanimously. It's almost a foreign concept these days when Democrats and Republicans get together, but that's the way we work in Oakland County, and that's what I will attempt to bring to Lansing. People say, well, how? It's such a partisan mess there. I think it begins with a simple concept. I think it's what we practice in Oakland County. We remember that Republicans are our opponents, but they are not our enemies. America, right? America has real enemies, by the way, but Republicans aren't them. We disagree, we fight with them all the time, but at the end of the day, we put the things that we can't agree on aside and we work on the things that we can together for the good of the people who sent us here. That's how we do it in Oakland County, and that's what I think we need a lot more of in Lansing, and that's the kind of state senator that I'll be. So once again, I see Michael creeping closer, so I want to just end on a little story. There's a small town in Alabama called Enterprise, Alabama, and in the early part of the last century, Enterprise was a very prosperous town because they grew cotton, and they grew it really well, and they grew lots of it, and they grew rich growing cotton. And then in 1915, something invaded their town that rocked their world and changed them forever, and it was called a boll weevil. Boll weevils eat cotton, right? And it destroyed the cotton crop of Enterprise, Alabama. And yet, here's the cool part of this story. If you go to Enterprise today, in the center of town is a monument. And at the top of the monument is a statue of a boll weevil. And every year in Enterprise, Alabama, they have a boll weevil festival. Can you imagine this? Why on earth would they do this? Here's why they do it. Because the town leaders, the businessmen, the farmers, the politicians got together after that summer of 1915 and said, what are we going to do? We need a plan. And they got together, and they worked together, and they said, we need to diversify. And so next year, they didn't just plant cotton, they planted peanuts and other crops. They even began to get involved in manufacturing. And an amazing thing happened. A year later, Enterprise not only rebounded, they were more prosperous than they ever were just growing cotton. And I tell you this story because I firmly believe that Michigan is in its boll weevil summer. We've seen it. 2 of our big 3 declared bankruptcy last year. This is our boll weevil summer, but I'm optimistic that we too can transform Michigan if we work together with Republicans, with the business community, with the environmentalists, with everybody working together. I remain exuberantly optimistic that we can transform Michigan and be greater than we were before with your help. So that's why I'm running for state senate, and I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.